Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings. Welcome to the Feminine Woman Podcast. I hope and pray that you enjoy this podcast because we're going to talk about Black family, Black love, and love languages. So welcome to it. Welcome again.
Hello and welcome to the Feminine Women's Podcast, a podcast that is all about femininity, relationships, and so much more. I just want to take this time out to shout out my sis and congratulate her on creating such an amazing platform. Shout out to you, Sister Tamara, for stepping out and embarking on this new journey and bringing your sister right along with you. We appreciate all that you do. This is a necessary topic. This is a necessary space. This is a necessary podcast. And we look forward to all that you have in store. So stay tuned, everyone, because you are going to be in for a treat.
Peace and welcome to the Feminine Women's Podcast, the best podcast that promotes divine femininity. Let me just say, I am so excited for what's to come with my big sister Tamara. This is exactly what the people need. I am so proud of you, big sister, and you come a long way. And this is just amazing to see your growth, for you to have your own podcast and everything. And I just wish you the best, and I congratulate you on everything that you're doing so far and everything that is to come. And I am sending my blessings to you. May Allah bless you to have the most successful podcast, women's podcast that there can ever be. And yeah, congratulations. Love you. Peace.
Yeah, praise be to Allah. Welcome to the Feminine Woman Podcast. I am your host, Sister Tamara, and to my immediate right is Sister Conisa, How to Eat to Live Girl. Below me is Sister Alexia, Hard Hitting Alexia, and this soldier next to Sister Alexia is Mecca, the rap machine, the music machine. So tonight we present to you the Feminine Woman Podcast, and we're going to talk about Black love, Black family, Black love languages. So let's get into it. Y'all excited? I am too. So, Black love, Sister Alexia, what is your definition? Sister Conisa, Sister Mecca, what is your definition of Black love? And why do we need more of that?
Who go answer first?
Really? Okay, I'll go first. So,
Okay.
Black love to me is amazing. You know, it's about embracing your family, embracing your husband, showing him love, and he shows you love right back. It allows you to rest in your femininity. It's just everything. It really is a man loving his woman fully, a woman loving her man fully. It is amazing to me to be loved by a hard-hitting FOI who loves me unconditionally. So that is what Black love is to me. And I feel like the world needs more of that because we see so much, division between the Black woman and the Black man. And I feel like if we spread more Black love, there wouldn't be so much division. So that's what Black love means to me.
Yes, ma'am.
I would say Black love, when it is expressed the correct way, is heaven to both the man and the woman. And when you're with the right person and you are all complementing each other, your strengths are their weaknesses and their strengths are your weaknesses. You balance each other out. And having that balance is something that's necessary. And even though being with someone that you love and building a relationship is work, it's not going to feel like work. It's going to feel like something that's natural. And of course, everything is work, but when you're doing something that you love and when you're loving someone, it's not going to seem like a burden as opposed to a blessing. So I think, finding your heaven is Black love.
Well, I think that Black love is a sense of overcoming trauma. Because Black people have been made to feel as though Black is nothing, Black is inferior. And so to have Black people love each other, that's overcoming a trauma. Black love is, creation. It is creating a new world, is creating a new reality, because we are the originators of everything. So through the love that we have for each other and for ourselves, we are creating a new world. And it's definitely necessary because of the world that we're living in. We don't want to be ourselves. We want to be everything but us. So to love another Black person and to love yourself as a Black person is definitely necessary, because we can't move forward without love, because love is what produces life. So through Black love, we are producing Black life, and Black lives matter, right? So if Black lives matter, then Black love matters as well, because that's the only way we'll be able to produce the life necessary to continue.
Yes. And I have to agree with Sister Mecca. I was going to say some of the same things that she was saying. To me, Black love represents a continuance of life, but it starts within. When I think of Black love, I think of what, I was created in Black love. Both my parents are Black. And if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here. But it also starts within the teaching of your children to love themselves and find others to love themselves, that love themselves, and mate with them, build families that will build successful communities, and successful communities will lead to successful nations of Black families. So that's what it means to me.
Yes, ma'am.
But do you feel like the world knows, about Black love? How do we introduce that? Because I feel like they don't. They have this miscued conception of what Black love is. So I feel like they don't.
They do. They do. And I actually think it's on both sides, but speaking on people from that are not Black, obviously, I think their perception is that Black love is against everything else. It's really a threat, right? To see Black men love Black women and the Black woman love Black men is a threat to the other cultures. And I think it's that way, or I think that it's pretty obvious because of the drama and the beef. You're like pushed to hate each other. Especially on social media, you see all the arguments, the podcast, right? Where there's men versus women, and it's usually Black men going against Black women, and Black women going against Black men is very toxic. It's the whole vibe is just centered around the Black male and female hating one another. And so I think that that's an obvious push for us to do that, because it hasn't always been like that. Generations ago, the Black woman stood for the Black man and vice versa. We were there to protect each other, stand for each other, both ways. But now it's the complete opposite. So I think that it's not understood the way it once was, and especially from people outside of our culture. But I'll say the positive, I do see people trying to push it, and it's kind of taboo, but I think that comes from people wanting that. Like, we really want that. That's in our nature to love on one another. So you got people that's going against or having these certain conversations, pushing the man against the Black man against the Black woman. But then you got people that are trying to promote that Black love. Podcasts like this that are promoting Black love. So I do see both sides, and God willing that we will get to a point where it's not so much beef, the woman against the man and the man against the woman. So yeah.
I would agree with you, Konisa, because The black woman has been on the front line for her man ever since slavery. And
Right.
so we have to remember that, like, when someone tells us that, black love doesn't exist, we are like, oh, yes, it does. That is heavy. That is heavy to have, because when people have this misconception that, oh, white women are there more for our men. No, absolutely not. Who told you that? We not. No, we have been there on the front line when they have been pepper sprayed, stuff thrown in their eyes, battling with other people. No, no, the black woman has always been there for our men, and we will continue to be.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We have kept our duty, because that's what love is. Love is duty. And I agree with Sister Conisa. I feel like it's on both sides. It depends on where you at mentally on whether or not you see black love or you don't see it. But we know 85% of the people, they're not hip, I would say. Not necessarily. Because it's not something that's pushed. What's pushed is, us fighting one another. What's pushed is baby mama, baby daddy. Not even gonna get into like the sexy red and what the female artists are pushing, but I feel like it's on both sides, and it's definitely necessary for it to be pushed out more, but that's something that the enemy does not want, because once black people start to see black love, then they're seeing something else. They're seeing a new reality, right? And really it's the only way to go. And once we start to see black love and black people start to implement black love, I mean, their world is already going out, but it will 100% be gone and be done away with, because our unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb. And we're going to be dropping bombs like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, okay? So I would say it's both too. Some people see it. Majority of people don't see it or really don't even believe in it, because they don't believe in loving themselves, because it all starts from within. So if they can't love their black self, they can't love their brother or sister.
Yes, ma'am. We're going to take a brief pause for the cause and introduce one of our sponsors, How to Eat to Live Girl, Conisa, who is an artist and who has a coloring book that is out of this world, and she can cook, and cook. So if you all need her services, please use her services. That's How to Eat to Live Girl. Eat well, eat supreme with How to Eat to Live Girl. So, oh my God. So let's talk about love languages. Do you all understand your man's love languages? Or have you been in a relationship with somebody and they understood yours and you understood his? I'll go first. I do understand my husband's love languages. He is quality time. His is quality time. He wants all the quality time in the world. Whether we lay up and watch a movie, or just pour into each other with affirmations, or talk about, the Quran or how to eat to live. That's quality time. That's his favorite. And he loves gifts too. He loves gifts. Got to give it to him. But yeah, that's his two love languages. And he understands mine. I love gifts. I do. And I love quality time.
So y'all's
So
match.
yes. So we are equal. So, I mean, it's nothing to, like, wake up one morning and I get a gift on the side of my bed, or he'll have an affirmation in his book bag. And just understanding him is important, and he understands me, and he allows me to rest in my femininity, which is important. So that's love, and that's understanding.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it true that the person whose love language, or a person's own love language, is usually reflected on how they treat others? Like, if your love language is quality time, then you're looking to have more. that wasn't the best example. Okay. If your love language is gifts, which is actually mine, and I feel that I am a person that's always giving gifts, and I'm thinking maybe that's because that's my own love language. Like, is that something y'all notice with yourselves?
Yeah.
That is that is your love language. But I think that if he knows that, he'd be like, "Oh, she likes gifts, so I'm just going to surprise her with flowers one day. I'm going to surprise her with art materials one day because you love gifts." So yeah, that's your gift. But I would like find out what his is so that both of you all's gifts would mesh well.
Yeah. Because like for instance, mine is physical touch and quality time as well. I don't mind gifts, but I am a gift giver though. So I like, and I've heard people say that, a woman is not supposed to give a man gifts. That's her walking in her masculine. And I don't believe in that, because if I see something, I'm like, oh, he would really like this. I'm thinking of him. So I'll get it for him. I like to get gifts and things for my husband. Or even like do stuff for like my mom or my sister. I might see a little trinket that made me think about them, so I get it for him. But that's not necessarily my love language though. My love language is more so physical touch. I don't mind getting a gift, but I would prefer, to my hand be held, or you playing in my hair or something. But my husband's, I would say, because we've never really talked about it, but I've asked him before, like, do I love you right? I just want to make sure. And he's like, you love me in ways that I never knew I could be loved. And if that's the case, then it's physical touch, because that's what I like. So I do try to do it, but also gifts, I would say, maybe. And then the quality time and spending time together. So you can have one love language, but I do believe that his is a mesh of things. So,
Alexia, what you got? Come on.
So me, I would say my love language is quality time and words of affirmation. And I'm similar to Sister Mecca, where I'm also a gift giver. So as opposed to spending time, of course, I would want you to spend time with me, but if I'm learning what your love language is, then I'm going to be more focused on making sure that I'm showing love in the way that you receive it. Because like Cole was saying, sometimes we want to give the other person our love language and expect them to receive that love, when it's like, I don't really care about quality time. I want gifts, or I want physical touch, or I want words of affirmation. So for me, I like surprises, but I wouldn't say gifts so much. So I'm like, oh, you can surprise me. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But I try to learn the other person's love language so that I can love them the right way.
I feel like that's something that happens a lot in relationships, is that you'll have somebody say, if they break up, and say, I gave them everything, I did everything that I could for that person. And I was like, yeah, that's what you were comfortable with. But is that what they actually wanted? It's cool that you bought them gifts, but they might want your time. They might not be somebody who wants that. Okay, you may have gave them your time, but they may want you to go buy them a gift. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how they feel love. And it's not that you're wrong in the way that you were giving love, but you have to be able to give love to the person the way that they need it, because that's how they feel it. So you're not wrong for giving them a certain type of love, because that's what you may be comfortable with. But at the same time, you do have to learn other people's love languages, because that might not be what they're comfortable with. They might not like being touched because they have some type of trauma. So you have to if that's a deal breaker, then you might have to move on. But if it's something you can deal with, then you have to learn it.
She just brought up what I was about to
Yes.
say with the engrams and the trauma. Sometimes we're attracted to certain love languages based on our history, based on the trauma that we've experienced. We stay away from those, like if you were abused and you don't want quality time, you want somebody to stay away from you, or if you are looking for love in the wrong places, you might be somebody who accepts gifts. because it's like, all right, give me what I can get. All right, this is love, you know. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
So what that say
But
about me then? Because I
could
love
you
me some gifts.
categorize that? Yeah. Can you
I don't feel like
categorize
I'm
that?
materialistic, but I
Right.
love me some gifts. Like it doesn't even have to be like, name brand or anything expensive. I want a quality thought out gifts, and that's usually how I give my gifts. If I know that person, I love that person, then I am looking to give something that is meaningful to them. It's not just I'm buying the latest shoes or purse or perfume, unless that's something that that person wants. So.
Right. Well, I think there's a difference. It's a difference between that just being the way somebody feels love, and then somebody actually having some type of trauma, and that's why they do the things that they do. So I feel like it's like there's a difference. So just because you like to get gifts doesn't mean that you trying to compensate for something, or trying to take something from somebody. That's the way that you feel love.
Right.
But there are some people who have been through things in their life where, because they went through it, that's the only way they feel that they can get love, is to get something from somebody. Or,
Right.
you know
But
what I'm saying?
but can you categorize that as trauma bonding though? Will we categorize that as trauma bonding? Because a lot of people trauma bond under their love languages. Like,
Mm.
oh, he loves me
That's
because
true.
he got me a gift. Oh,
That's
he
true.
loves me because he's laying up under me. Oh, he loves me this, that, and the other. But it's actual trauma bonding. So how did that tie in with trauma? For me, when I see it, I'm like, oh, that's not to give her a gift. That's trauma bonding. They like they're like bonding over trauma. Oh, your trauma is my trauma. So let's just go together. Let's just love each other. So could that be
That's true.
categorized as trauma bonding, love languages, trauma bonding? Let's speak to that.
I guess to a degree. I never looked at it like that. But I would say to a degree. Um, and again, I guess maybe because the gifting is my love language, that's the only way that I can see it. I would say on the extreme end, it could be trauma bonding for someone again who's materialistic, and that person, like you said, they're just receiving a gift from a man per se. They're getting giddy or giggity off of that man giving them a gift or buying them gifts, and they're impressed because either they didn't get that, you know, they didn't get nice things when they were a child or something like that, or um, it could have been anything, that now they're looking to this man that is giving them gifts, and they're bonding over that and not really genuine love. They're bonding over the gift giving. So
Or like a man being controlling over a woman, and so he doesn't want her to leave. He wants her always in his presence. So she thinks, oh well, he always wants me with him. That's quality time, or spending quality time together, but really it's he doesn't want you to leave his sight. And so you're bonding through that because you may want quality time, or you think you're bonding through that. But really he's abusing you. So I do think that there is a measure of trauma bond that does come with love languages as well. Definitely.
Yes, I would agree with that. And just to tie it together, when you have a knowledge of self, you can identify when someone is trying to manipulate you, or when someone is not being their true authentic self. Because like we've discussed on different conversations, when you are introduced to someone, you are meeting their representative, not necessarily their true person until time reveals itself. So when it comes to trauma bonds and love languages, I would say that, like Sister Mecca and Sister Cole said, there is a part of it that has to do with trauma bonds. But when you don't know how to discern between whether it's the actual love language or whether it's part of their trauma, then that's when you can get caught up and think one thing is one thing when it's actually something totally different.
Right. Because it could also be somebody with abandonment issues, and that's why they always want you around, because they feel like you're going to abandon them, right? Or because they were touched as a young girl, they think that that's what love is. So that's why you have all these young girls who've been touched. That's why they become so promiscuous, because they think that that is what love is. And so a man who wants to lay down with them, they're like, oh, you know, I must have some type of value, because that's how they put value on themselves, was through the physical touch. I mean, it was sexualized physical touch, but it's still physical touch nonetheless. So yeah, that's a deep perspective. I never really thought about that.
Yeah, because it ties in like, okay, I'm going to give her these gifts because I want her to stay with me. I don't want her to leave. Or I'm going to lay up with her for X amount of times. I know I got to work, but I want her to know that I love her. But that's trauma bonding sometimes. And that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so, we talked about love languages. We talked about Black family. We've talked about Black love. I guess the last table talk we can talk about, do you all think marriage is important in society? Marriage, in society, because some men and women say marriage is not important. Some men and women say that it's just a piece of paper and not to take it seriously. So do you think marriage is important, and why?
Absolutely. We're taught that marriage is half of our faith. And so we cannot complete our mission without that marriage aspect. But I think a lot of people get married for the wrong reasons, or they're marrying the wrong people. They get married for the ceremony or the wedding as opposed to the actual marriage. And so you see a lot of people getting divorced, and people have a misconception of what marriage actually is. And when they find out when they're in it, they're like, I didn't sign up for this, but you actually did
Right.
sign up for that, because marriage is the struggle to become one. So it's going to be a struggle, and a lot of people don't want that struggle. They want it to be peace and love and happiness 24/7, and it's not the case. And so learning how to actually struggle with someone and learning how to be in partnership, building your faith together, doing the will of Allah together, that's what makes, that's what makes marriage work. That's what makes it stronger, having that threefold cord, having Allah at the center, but when your perception of it or when your reason for it is off, then people are going to be like, oh, well, we don't need it anyway. Or they might be afraid of commitment. They might have had different experiences in their past where it turned them off, or it could have been, their parents were married and they got divorced, or it was abusive relationships. So, the list can go on and on, but I do think that it is necessary for the betterment of our nation.
Yes, ma'am.
I have to agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I would say, I hear people say it's a piece of paper a lot, but it's not a piece of paper. The piece of paper is just for legal reasons. So like if y'all was to get divorced, there's a paper trail. You get this, you're entitled to this, whatever the case may be. That's what the paper for, but the paper does not necessarily make y'all married. What makes y'all married is that y'all went before your peers and that y'all confessed y'all's love and y'all's willingness to be together and only be to each other amongst y'all peers in the sight of God. That is what makes y'all married, not the piece of paper. And marriage is very important because it's character development. Being in a relationship with somebody and not being married, and being married is completely different, and y'all's trials are going to be completely different, because dating, you're not committed to that person. Like y'all shacking up, y'all boyfriend and girlfriend, y'all not really together. So they're not able to try you and make you into a better person because y'all not together. But marriage comes with a set of trials that causes character development. It makes you into a better person. It makes you grow, because that's the whole point, is to grow into oneness with God. And that is your counterpart. The Holy Quran says that He created us in pairs. And so your partner, your spouse, is the other half of you. And it's not until y'all actually come together as one that y'all are united. You can't become united with somebody you haven't really given yourself to, because at any given time you could just walk out. With those people who say, well, I know people who they got divorced within a year of getting married, and I've been with my husband or my boyfriend for 20 years. That's cool, but y'all still will never get to the point of development that y'all could get to if y'all was married, because y'all can really just walk away at any time. And the reason why those people got divorced was because, like Sister Alexia said, they got into it for the wrong reasons. They could have been together for 6 years, got married, and was divorced within a year. Why? Because marriage, the trials that come in marriage are not the same. Y'all still together because y'all not married. The trials in marriage are completely different.
So Minister Ava said in her book Real Love, marriage go through weather patterns. They go through fall, winter, spring, and some of us don't make it through the fall season. Like, no, you got to go. So you can't stay here no more. You can't stay here through the winter season. You can't stay here through the summer, the spring. You can't stay here no more. So I would agree, Sister Mecca, marriage is trials. But if you really love that person, you will go through those trials with them. You don't quit on somebody if you really love them. You'll continue to go through those trials, those hard trials, those necessary trials to build you all up and draw you all closer. So I would agree.
And real quick, the minister said what you would do what you would do to your spouse, you would do to God. So if you would commit adultery with your spouse, you would do it to God. If you would just up and leave your spouse, you would do it to God. So it's really a reflection of you as a person and how you handle your marriage and your relationships.
And I wanted to add one more thing too. When it comes to people saying that it's just a piece of paper, people go to work and get checks, which is just a piece of paper, or they get degrees, which is just a piece of paper, or they have all these other professions that they get pieces of paper with, and they hold it to the highest standard. But then when it comes to marriage, it's just a piece of paper. So, there's a level of deception when it comes to their mindset towards marriage.
And to add on to what they were saying, that just shows you the mindset of our generation. Now, we literally think it's only a piece of paper. At one point, marriage was valuable. Marriage was something that was very valuable amongst people. But now we look at it as just a relationship. Like, common boyfriend, girlfriend is the limit. That's the goal. That's it. That's the end goal. Like, if I can be with a person for 5 years, I've done good. If I can have that person's child and be with them for 5 years, then I'm good. Like, it's no long-term commitments. If y'all think about it, like, people are not staying married for a long time. Like, if they are getting married, they're not staying married for a long time. And I'm just fearful that at some point it ain't gonna be no long-term marriages. People aren't gonna, how we had, and I'm grateful for this, that we had grandparents and great-grandparents that stayed together for long periods of time. And I know there's people that'll say, well, grandma wasn't happy, yeah, she was getting abused, or her husband was doing this, but they stayed together for so many years. That's part of that trial too. Maybe she was getting beat on, but that's still a part of the trial. They went through other things through that marriage to become one. She stuck by his side and he stuck by her side. And we don't even and again, I'm not condoning abuse at all. In case people in case they don't want to think that I'm not condoning abuse. But let's be real. Things happened. But I said the benefit still outweighs these broken homes that we're creating in this new generation. Broken homes, and like just no marriages, period. And like I said, I fear that that's going to be something that's going to be so common that we won't be able to look up to great grandparents or great grandparents that had relationships or marriages. And I think that's sad. I think that's really sad. So yeah.
So ladies, go ahead, Sister Alexia.
Yeah, especially back in the day when people used to get married younger, and now people are waiting until they're in their 40s and 50s to get married. They're like, I want to live my life first before I get tied down, or before life ends for me. Like, marriage is looked at in a negative way when people perceive it the wrong way. So that goes back to the mindset as well.
I was told that because I got married when I was 20, and I was told, everybody was like, you're so young, you need to live your life, you need to travel, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I'm like, okay, but why can't I do that with my husband? And I'm grateful because a lot of my first things that I did with my husband. We were able to create memories of doing first things together because we ended up getting married. He's 7 years older than me, but I was able to have a lot of first things with him. And so that means a lot when you're able to do first things together with somebody that you love, somebody that you've given your life to. Like, there's nothing comparable to that feeling, like to know that y'all in this are supposed to be in this for the rest of your life and y'all experience stuff together and are able to share that moment together for the first time.
I would agree, Mecca, because I got married at 20. And we, though we went through trials and tribulations, we're still here. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't have our first child until I was 27. So life with my husband is glorious. We went through those trials, we mastered those trials, and we're still here. And I'm thankful to a lot because I'm like you. I've learned first things as well, traveling. It's oh my God, just so much that I'm grateful for. Just being here with him is amazing to me, and to birth 4 of his children is amazing. So I'm grateful for this well-made man. That, oh my God, well-made man. Come on. That God has given me and given my children. So yeah, I cannot complain.
Can we also, I just learned something too. Can we also just talk about how people don't understand that marriage is a lifelong commitment? Like, we give up I've never been married. I'm talking about we. But the people that have been married, I feel like they give up so easy, and it's pushed to say the moment that you don't feel like something is going right, or the moment that you get upset or you can't take something, you ready to leave. Like, you ready to be done. You ready to get a divorce. It's one thing to keep being abused or keep going through trials and over, and that person showing you that y'all can't work out. Allah hates divorce. But there's a huge gap between trial and necessary divorce. That's what I feel. And I think a person has to have discernment between that, knowing when you're going through trials with this person and y'all have to figure things out, but keep going, right? That's going to make y'all better in the end. But then there's a point where, okay, yes, there may be time for a divorce because y'all will never work out. It's not meant to be. And usually there's signs, but that person ignored them, or y'all wanted to get married for other reasons. And now it's showing in y'all relationship after a few years. And like Sister Alexia was saying, everybody has that representative. Y'all were put on the front in the beginning, and now it's time for y'all to part ways because it was never meant to happen in the first place. Y'all shouldn't have been where y'all are now. Y'all should have been married. But yeah, I think that a lot of times people use, very excuses. People use a lot of excuses to get out of marriage, and is I think it's an abuse of marriage, actually. If you're not serious about a person, if you're not serious about staying with them long term, and again, that commitment, that's where that commitment comes in, then don't get married. Simple as that.
I would say
I would agree.
Yes, you practice how you perform, and you perform how you practice. So if you've been in multiple situations with different people and your thought is, if this don't work, I'm gonna go find somebody else, you're actually practicing how to be divorced, how to get divorced over and over and over. So learning how to actually fight for someone and with someone, is something that you have to develop over time. And the person has to be worth your fight, and they have to be willing to fight with you, because you can't fight in a ring and you the only one in there.
Right.
That's pointless. But it definitely goes back to how you grew up and what you taught yourself, or what you saw and what you took on, and the mindset that you go into it, like, oh, well, if anything happens, you ain't going nowhere, and neither am I. And if you mad, you can sleep on the couch and I'll see you in the morning, as opposed to if this don't work, I'm leaving you and I'm going to find somebody else that could do it better. But you're going to find the same characteristics in other people. So it's not like you going anywhere. You're going to deal with the same stuff.
Right. In every relationship, every marriage. Yeah.
And I feel like it also is a lot of people who are so self-involved, and this is part of the reason why marriages don't last, is because we're so concerned with ourselves. And so we're always trying to be the victim instead of actually seeing ourselves, which is why I said that marriage is character development, because it forces you to look at yourself, because your partner is a reflection of you. And so we don't want to see ourselves.
Right.
And so we'd rather just leave. But you're going to run into the same problem in your next relationship because you're not dealing with the problem, and that problem is partially you. And that's another problem, is that we've taken on such a victim mentality. We're not able to overcome the trials because we have such thin skin. So,
Well, ladies, we have come to the end of the Feminine Woman Podcast, Part 1, but we're going to tackle the accountability in marriages on our next podcast, because I feel like, and I like to, make a segue into that. I like that we should talk about that accountability in marriage, because sometimes we as women don't want to hold ourselves accountable. Well, I didn't do that. Yes, you did. You made your husband feel uncomfortable. He made you feel uncomfortable. So let's tackle that the next podcast session. Accountability in our religion and accountability in our marriages, and taking accountability during courtship. Come on now. Because in courtship, like Mecca said, like Alexia said, like Kanisa said, you sending your representative in your courtship, and when you get married, you don't like to do dishes, and the dishes are piled up in the sink.
Just lying.
You don't like to keep the shoes by the front door, just tracking dirt and mud into the house. So let's tackle that. Part 2, Feminine Woman Podcast, holding ourselves accountable in marriages and in courtships. So I want to thank you all for joining. Thank you all for being supportive. Once again, our sponsor tonight is How to Eat to Live Girl. You can follow her on FB, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter. Yes. You can follow Mecca on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And Sister Alexia, you can follow her on FB, Instagram, and Twitter. We everywhere. We out here, y'all. We are. We're feminine women. So thank you all for joining. Be peaceful, be kind, and be glorious. Have a good night.